Yeah, rebirth is a very interesting concept that was, removed from Christianity in the 4th century. I was brought up Christian, so I read the New Testament quite often, and a few things are still in there. That is the question of the disciples of Jesus. When they saw a newborn child that was blind, then they asked, is it the fault of the parents that the newborn child is blind, or is it the fault of the baby? How can it be the fault of the baby if there wouldn't be anything, that the baby has done in its previous life? So that question, hints a little bit, that there was something, even in Christianity. And when you look at the apocryph texts, then you find a lot. But it's not in the sense, it's not explained in the sense as it is explained in Buddhism. And actually, when you look at Asian countries, all the Asian countries believe in rebirth. It's just the Western countries that got rid of the idea. And why? Because it's a very unpleasant, it's a very unpleasant, uncomforting thought. This one life is just enough, okay, let's get out of it. And then I don't want to see anything anymore of it. And I want to be either in heaven or hell, and it is, this comes from our education. When we are not Christians, we believe we just go into nowhere. When we are Christians, we believe we go into heaven or hell. Only 2 choices. And in Christianity, the hell and heaven are eternal. So, but that is contradicting to Buddhist belief, that heaven and hell are not eternal. They are just transitory states. So let us think. The Buddhist religion strikes to the people in the West as something very rational, something very logical. There's a person coming. An old person with a picky tail. So, we can adjust to all the things, except for maybe rebirth. That's where the problem starts. What is reborn? Certainly not this body. That body dies away. What is reborn? Might think as our abilities that we gathered in this life, and of course the karma. But karma is also abilities. It's also character traits. So these character traits, just form another existence. That does not mean it's completely the same thing as we are in this life. And that of course makes sense, because in our youth we were different from now. And it makes sense in a way that that it explains some of the abilities of some of the people. Just like, for instance, one of the person that I remember heard of, in the United States, he was writing a compendium of world history at the age of 6. I mean, and that was pretty famous. I mean, at the age of 6, most of us are playing in our what is sandcastle? Sandpit. Huh? Sandpit? With cars and tin soldiers. But, he was writing a compendium of world history. Or Mozart, was, composing his first minuet. Huh? Now think of other people who study music for 20 years. When they compose something, it doesn't just sound like anything. So the abilities, if somebody, or even a good doctor, or a good engineer. I mean, you know from your own studies, there were people who instantly understood, instantly comprehended what was taught, and some other people, just looked. I mean, it was completely foreign language to them. The abilities of us in the school or at university, I mean, where does it come from? I mean, in the 70s, they proclaimed, tabula rasa, every child, was the same. I mean, all what is imprinted is what society and the parents imprint on them. But they had to, they had to take this idea away because it just couldn't fit anything. I mean, it just doesn't explain, the people, the different characters of brothers and sisters. I mean, in each family we say there's a black sheep. I mean, how does that come? Because the imprint is the same thing. So it cannot be. So it must come, must come something. But of course the belief, when we believe about rebirth or when we think about rebirth, and then we mostly think that this person that we experience right now has been rebirthed. And that, of course, is not right. Whatever comes, whatever is reborn, is surely part of that what we call the citta. Or is part of that what we call karma. And karma is not only the reactions of our causes, but also the character traits that we train along. For instance, if we start in this life, we have the feeling or we have the urge, some people have that strange urge to be generous. So from that time, they're going to develop it. Before they were pretty stingy or, not really generous. And then they start to develop this character trait. And in the end of their life, that character trait is pretty strong. So when they are born in the next life, they are not the same as in this life. Because from the moment they are born, they try to be generous. Or other people, develop a lot of metta, loving kindness for others. And that of course, will lead over. Just like we can think of it, as rebirth in a very short and not really good example, but somehow striking the moment we go to bed, and the next moment we wake up. I mean, when we go to bed, our state of mind is different from the state of mind when we wake up. Some of the things have just gone, and some of the things have remained. And so is it when we are reborn. Some of the things have gone, and some of the things have remained, and other things will come. So it is actually very difficult to foretell what are we going to be in our next life, because that is very much determined by the karma that we have done in this life, or also in previous lives. I mean, that what is going to be ripe at the time of the death, that is what we're going to reap. Most of the time. Except for if we train our mind and become extremely mindful at the time of death. then we might have, or then we more or less have the ability to choose where we are going. The moment we are mindful now in our actions, then we can choose to do this or to do that. If we are not mindful, we just follow our traits. Does that make some sense?
About time of death. Can you say it again? What you said there? There was a choice you pointed out to.
Yes.
Can you say it again for me? I didn't quite understand that.
At the time of death, the moment that the body dies away, the moment it's the last breath, we have the choice, or some people have the choice, if they are mindful, whatever comes, they decide to go or not to go. Just like we have now, we meet a person, we have the choice to talk to this person or just to make a big way around him. Or we have the choice, sometimes we have the choice, to steal something because we want it, or to let go of this action. And so will it be in the moment of death. But the moment of death, of course, it's much more difficult because there's a lot of pain and suffering and fear. So to be mindful at that moment is rather more difficult than to be mindful in our daily life. We have the choice every moment to do good or to do bad, to follow the good traits or to follow the bad traits. And that depends on our thinking and memory that comes up at that time, or what we see. And so will it be with death. Death is just another moment. So people who practice a lot, people who are monks or recluses, they much more have the choice, of going here and going there. I mean, there's a story that Tanachan tells about somebody he knows, and he was dying. He was a Luxit I think he was a Luxit of some of the previous Ajahns here in Thailand, and he died of malaria. That was very common at that time. There was no medicine against malaria, and so quite a few people died of malaria. So he died of malaria, and he remembered everything. Right? When he died, he was he was going along a path, and then he met a person, and then this person told him, this is the way to heaven, and this is the way to the world or to hell. I mean, it's up to you. You can go to heaven. You are free to go to heaven. This monk thought, I'm so thirsty. I just want to get some water before I make my decision. So he didn't went to the way to heaven, so he went the other way. And then he saw a woman, just digging water or hauling water from a well. And he thought, that's nice, I'm really thirsty. And the next moment he remembered he was reborn in that family. But he remembered everything. He not only remembered, that he died and was reborn, but he always called himself with the way the monks talk to lay people. And that is very unusual for a little kid. So the parents said, you're not a monk. Huh? But when he was 11, he still had the feeling he still was a monk. And he knew where his teacher was living. And just 20 or 30 kilometers away. So then he, with 11, he said, I want to go and see my teacher. And then he went up to this teacher. And then he talked to him. Do you remember this monk, who died of malaria? And then he said, yes, I remember this monk who died of malaria. And that's quite an interesting story. I mean, there are a few interesting stories in coming from Sri Lanka, and then there are a few interesting stories coming from here. So it tells us about rebirth. So that monk was quite mindful in the moment he was dying, even though, it is quite painful. And some people, most of the people are afraid. That's why they don't even cut certain moments. But it depends what Buddhists normally say, or what the Lord Buddha teaches is that the moment a person that we like or that we love or that we care for dies, then we try to go to this person and tell him a lot of the things that he did good in his life. So that these kind of memories come up the moment he really dies. So this kind of memories will lead him then to a good life. If a person remembers that he, that one time in his life he stole something and he regretted at the moment of his death, that will certainly lead him down. So he will go either to the hell realms or he will go to the to the ghost realms, because of this memory that leads him there. I mean, he will come, if that was the only problem, he will come back pretty soon. I mean, it is just like, we have to think about karma just like our law and order. When we steal something, we are put in prison for this amount of time or that amount of time, depending on the severity of the theft. But once we come out, we are free again. And so is it, when we go down to the lower realms. I mean, if we have done little, we stay little time. If we have done a lot, we stay a long time. But the moment our punishment is, what do you say, punishment is over, then we come back. But of course there are punishments that take a very long time. And there are the 5 deeds that no one should ever do. First thing is never kill your parents. Or not your father, not your mother. The third thing is not to kill an arahant. The fourth thing is not to try to kill a Buddha. You cannot kill a Buddha, but you can try to kill it, so you can draw blood from a Buddha. And the last thing is to split the Sangha. These are the things that are the heaviest deeds that one can do. It leads to hell for 150 or 160,000 years. That's quite a long time. So one shouldn't do that. I mean, there are probably a few examples in the suttas of the teaching of the Lord Buddha. And one is that she was the wife of a king, a very, very devoted follower of the Lord Buddha. But one time, in her life, she did something wrong. I mean, when she went to the bathroom, her little dog, was starting to licking at her vagina, and she didn't put that dog back. She let it, finish the time, in other words. But her husband, at the same time, her husband was trying to get into the bathroom. So she lied to him. That was the second thing. And just because of that, the moment she died, she had to go to hell for 7 days. Just of these two little, what we call, unimportant things. So, of course, the king was constantly asking the Lord Buddha, has she gone to heaven? Has she gone to heaven? And the Lord Buddha kept silence for 7 days. And then after 7 days, yes, she has gone to this and that heaven. Because he knew, it would have been too disappointing for the king to hear that his wife has gone to hell. So, he just didn't say. So there are a few things that tell us about rebirth. I mean, the most important thing is that, like I said in the beginning, is that we should not have the idea that, in our next life we will just be the same as in this life. And that's certainly not the case. I mean, just like we know in this life, we are not the same person all over our life. When we are youngsters, then we are youngsters and doing things differently than when we are in our 20s. Or when we are 50 or 60 or even 70 or 80. We look at life in a very, very different way. So what is going from one life to the next is not what I call life, but is actually only a very unpersonal thing that is called karma. Whatever we have done will have effects, and it will have effects in the future. I mean, if we plant an apple tree and we die before the apple tree gets ripe, I mean, then we have to wait a few times. I mean, and this kind of karma exists also in our world. We have to wait maybe for 2 or 3 or 4 lifetimes before this karma comes and ripens up, so that we can reap it. Maybe good karma or maybe bad karma. So it doesn't necessarily mean when we kill a person that we immediately go to hell. Most of the time it's most likely, because the people who are notorious killers, will go to hell. But people who just did it, out of a one-time wrath in their life, I mean, not necessarily. They might go to hell, in another life, or in one after 3 or 4, or never. That really depends. I mean, it's very, very difficult to say what is going to happen. I mean, that should lead us to the conclusion of our life that we are trying to do the best with whatever we have. Do the best, so that this entity or this being that is reborn, that is part of our being now, that is reborn, reaps a lot of good karma. And that's why actually the Lord Buddha proposed, the 5 precepts. Because he saw that if we keep these 5 precepts, we will not come to the lower realms. We will not be reborn to the lower realms. And the lower realms start with the animal realms. Don't harm any living being. I mean, not only with deeds, but also with words. Don't lie. Don't take what is not given. No sexual misconduct, and no alcohol and drugs. Alcohol and drugs, just out of one reason. Because when we drink, or when we are drugged, we do things that we regret later on. And these things are, mostly, we don't do very generous things when we are... we say things, or we do things that hurt other people. Most of the time. Most of our time when we are aware, or when we are mindful, when we are not drunk, we still have the conscience that holds that back, the bad deeds. But the moment we drink alcohol and or are drugged, we do things that are not good, that are mostly against these 5 precepts. And that's the only reason why alcohol and drugs is in there. And also alcohol and drugs make us completely deluded. I mean, it helps just, to foster the power of avijja, to keep us in its hand. I mean, that's why, in the West, we forbid cigarettes and all these things that are unhealthy, but, we do allow alcohol. And for one very reason, people, want to drink, they want to forget. I mean, if you smoke, you don't forget. It's very difficult. But if you drink, you forget you forget your hardship. I mean, that is convenient for everybody. I mean, it's convenient for a government, it's convenient for a boss or for a company, for everybody. So that's why why it will never be forbidden. So keeping these 5 precepts will give us more or less the guarantee that we don't go down. And now, if we want to go up, we do have to develop some virtues. If we want to go up, if we want to stay in the human realm, maybe we can decide, if it's pleasant or not. If it would be so pleasant, so why are we here? And start trying to practice. So if you want to go up, there are a few things that we can do. The virtue of generosity is one virtue that certainly brings us, in combination with keeping the 5 precepts, of course. There are prerequisites for all the lives, above from the human realm above. So if you develop some generosity, if you develop respect and gratitude, these are the 3 virtues that are necessary for us to go to heaven, you say. So if you want to visit the heaven for a while, if you have enough virtue in this respect, and if you kept our 5 precepts, that there shouldn't be any hindrance. But most of us, don't. Respect in the West, what is that? That's a hindrance. That's not a virtue. Gratitude, why? It's my right. It's also a hindrance. And generosity, well, if I'm pressed to give something, I will give something. For tax reduction, yes. If I can reduce my taxes from that, then I give something. That is not generosity we're talking about. Taking on somebody, and really, not caring if our taxes, if we can reduce our tax this way, then this is a part of generosity, if you feel that. But generosity has actually there are 3 levels of generosity. The generosity is by giving to get something back. That's the lowest level.
That's exchange.
Huh?
That's exchange.
Yes. Well, but it's the first part of generosity. The Chinese are, giving something to the monk, but they expect something back, in the next life. So, it's part of generosity. Otherwise, it's really exchange, to give something, and get immediately something back. But generosity is not, it hopes that we get something back. Huh? I give a present to a person, and I hope next time, on my birthday or on Christmas, he gives me a present. If he doesn't give me a present, then I might get pissed. And I won't give him anything anymore. But this is a form of generosity. It's a form of generosity most people in the West do know. But it's the lowest level of generosity. The next higher level of generosity is to give because one has joy of giving. That is difficult to train. But if you start training, and if you start giving, just giving away and giving away. Thinking of something, if I give it away, then I don't have to look after it. If I give my house away, I don't have to look after my house. I just sleep under the tree. Here in Thailand, it's no problem. If you live in Germany, it might be a problem. You have to live in a cave. But all the things, just looking at all the things that we have stored up within our life, most of it we could give away without any problems. Why do we still cling to it? We think, we might need So giving away, generosity, actually, when we look at the path of practice, this kind of generosity is pretty necessary for our development in practice. Because if we can't, even if we are too stingy to give away material things, how much more stingy are we to give away our ideas? To let go of our ideas, because it's also a part of generosity. We say, okay, your opinion, okay, that's it. I give up. I don't want to argue anymore. It's a form of generosity. The material generosity is much easier to develop than the generosity of giving away our ideas and opinions or righteousness. I'm right, no? No, I'm right. No, I'm right. No, I don't give in. That's a form of generosity, just to give in and say, okay, whatever you think, whatever you mean, that's it. That's okay with me. Whatever you want to do, that's okay with me. That's a form of generosity. So we have to train that, because it's not inherent in our culture, it's not inherent in our characteristic tendency. And especially when we come from the West. When we come from India or when we come from Thailand, it's different. There's a certain form of generosity built into the society. You give somebody, you give a backer, you give this, you give that. Because generosity is good. And respect is also something. If we can't respect ourselves, how can we respect others? If we can't respect ourselves, we certainly cannot respect. If we can't respect others, we certainly cannot respect ourselves. If I constantly criticize other people, then there must be a lot of criticism about myself. If I'm completely contented with myself, why bothering criticizing about other people? There wouldn't be any need to. So respect is something that we have to develop. We develop it on the way, letting go of our wrong ideas or getting rid of our evil character traits, or evil deeds, or evil thoughts, or evil memories. We can get rid of it. It's a long way. We start, we start with the first step and we end with the last step. Where are you going? You want to take your player with you?
I lost my key. When I come back, I lost my key. I have to get from
okay.
away. I'll come back.
So in whatever we trade, this is something that we will have in our future lives. Whatever kind of ability. If we train the ability to meditate, then next life, when we start in our next life, or maybe it's 10 years later, or 10 lives later, we still have this ability. If we study science, if there is a time, when the world needs science again, we'll be much more clever than in this life. That doesn't go away. This doesn't fade away. Memory in itself doesn't fade away. Only the memory of this life, might fade away the moment we die. And in the next life we don't remember anything, but that is just a partial memory. The memory of what we have done is within our chitta. It's complete. That's why an arahant can remember all his lives. He can remember all his professions that he had. Or, when he was in hell and why he was in hell. what led him to hell and what led him to heaven. I mean, he can remember everything. I mean, all of his brilliant life. Because that is what is kept in darkness by avijja. So all what we, at the moment, what we can do is remember parts of this life. And we really remember only parts. Some parts we just don't remember. Some parts that might have been very difficult or that might have been very painful, we try not to remember because we don't want to bring up these painful memories. So if you learn the art of dancing or if you learn the art of playing an instrument, I mean the moment we have in one of the future lives, the moment we have the opportunity to play an instrument again, it's easier for us. It's easier than for a person who has never ever done that. And that makes a difference in all the people and in all the profession. Some people are extraordinary dancers and other people, just stagger along the stage. I mean, more or less. I mean, Karma is also giving us the body that has this remembrance of previous exercise. I mean, if somebody sits all this life, just in a chair and never does any exercise, I mean, he will not have an athletic body in the next life. And if he eats too much, he will certainly have problems with his body and immediately with his organs. I mean, that explains also sickness and illness, the more profound sickness and illness, not the daily catch a cold. That is very common and that is very common to our environment. Catching a virus or a cold, that is not due to our Dhamma. But having constant problem with the liver or with the gallbladder or whatever, with the stomach or with the intestines, I mean that just gives us an indication of our karma. If you have an illness that is very difficult to heal, and we find a doctor that can heal it for us, or we can find a healer that can get rid of it, it means also that is our karma. So that's why some people are cured from cancer and others don't. And most of them not. Some people are cured of this sickness, and then we think this medicine is actually doing this. No, it's the karma that does it. I mean, the medicine just helps it, but it's a karma of this person, and it shows that this person has, in a later stage, before the illness was going too strong, has changed its ways of life, and has not done this bad anymore that led to this kind of illness. I mean, a person who eats, junk food for the first 30 years and then suddenly learns how to take food, that is healthy for the body, I mean, he might have an illness in the beginning, but that can be cured. And another person who eats the junk food until his last breath, that illness cannot be cured. I mean, that are just very coarse examples, but it just shall show us, everything that we experience in our life is, or nearly everything is karma, is the result of karma. And that might be sickness, that might be the form of our body, that might be the shape of our body, being a male or female. That is also karma. So what we do in this life and what we have done in previous lives will determine what is going to happen in our next life. But because we had so many lives, it is very difficult for a normal person or even for an experienced person to tell exactly where we are going to go. The Lord Buddha could tell us, and the Lord Buddha could tell us, what we have done, in our previous life to receive the karma that we are receiving right now. But a normal person or even an experienced meditator cannot tell us. It's a very, very difficult thing. There are too many factors And there's so much. If this would be only our only first life, then it would be much easier to tell, because there are no factors from the past that can influence the karma. But overall, the moment we decide, now, from this moment on, I will stay within the 5 precepts, sooner or later we will just be on the good side. We still receive some bad karma from previous lives, but the future will be much more brighter than the future of this life. Just making good karma, will also we will be also able, to have a happier human life in the next time. But cheating people, deceiving people, lying to people, taking things away in a way that is maybe other people do it, or most of the people do it, but it's still not proper within the 5 precepts. That will certainly come back to us. And then we don't like it. We can just think about the things that happened to us in this life. I was amazed, wherever I went, in whatever country, and I was going, toured a lot of Europe and the States. And even Thailand. There wasn't anything that was stolen from me. My friends that went on to the same trip, they got their things stolen, but mine still were complete. That is very unlikely. Especially, if you have your things together in the trunk of a car. They were really metaled up. And then, they break the trunk and they take the things away. And then it really happened, it was only his stuff. Mine, there wasn't anything missing. And the same thing in the hotel room, My friend's stuff got stolen when mine was there. So it shows us. The only thing that happened to me that was close to theft was they broke my car open. I wanted to steal the radio, but they couldn't. The window was broken, but the radio was still in there. So somebody must have caught them, on the spot. That is karma, we say in the world, we say, this is luck, or this is good, good luck. But there's no good luck and there's no bad luck. There's only karma. So whatever happens to us is the result of our previous action. There are chances, the Lord Buddha said there are chances, but their chances are very, very unlikely. So think about 99%, you can find out, what the 0.1% is, that is really chance, but 99% of all is your karma. Be it illness, be it sickness, be it, whatever happens to you. If you're childless, it's karma. If you get a lot of children, it's karma. Everything. If you're born as a male, it's karma. If you're born as a female, it's karma. If you're born in a rich family, it's karma. If you're born in a poor family, it's karma. If you have a father that teaches you how to kill other people, it's your karma. If you have a father that teaches you what is right and what is bad, that is also good karma. If you find a good teacher, it's good karma. A lot of people are looking for Dhamma. And sometimes, some of them find a good teacher and they are not deceived, that is their good karma. And most of the people find a teacher who deceives them. And that's their karma. Because they deceived in previous life, so they will be deceived. And they were righteous in their previous life, so they will find righteous people. Not people lying to them. Karma is the main thing, If you don't want to think one person goes from one life to the other, I mean, you are very correct when you say karma goes from one life to the next. But at the moment you experience karma, don't you? And you are happy with some of the karma and unhappy with other things of karma. So that there is something in the background that knows that karma and knows the results of karma. And there's something in the background, who tells us, I want to be reborn. I want to just have another chance. In my next life I want to have another chance. So something is experienced the karma, but karma itself is that what forms the rebirth. Be it the bodily form, be it a heavenly form, or be it a form of animal form, or be it a ghost or a demon or hell. It's karma. But we are going with it. I mean, something is going that knows about it with it. And that is for us to find out what is the one who knows about karma. What is the one who knows about good karma? What is the one who knows about bad karma? What is the one who knows about good feelings and one who knows about bad feelings? One who knows, what is thought and what is memory and what is this and what is that. I mean, that is for us to find out. I mean, if we can find it out within our practice, that would be great. At least then we would have a better understanding of what is going on and why it is going on. But if we can't find it, then we're still in the dark, left in the dark. And we muddle things up, because in the dark, you stumble about a lot of things that you don't see. And that is nothing, the darkness is nothing else than avijja. That's the power that rules us. So, I hope that the question is answered of what is rebirth. Oh, you still have some more questions?
To think about it.
Yes. Okay, think about it and let it sink in. Let it sink in. I mean, I know for the Western mind, especially for the European Western mind, it is very difficult to assess rebirth. So it is now a little bit more trendy, but people really don't know what is rebirth. I mean, they believe in rebirth, but they don't know it. They believe in karma, but they don't know it. It's not the same way as with most Asian countries that have developed over the last 2,000 years, that have that thought and training and teaching within them that teaches them about karma and that teaches them about rebirth. I mean, for us, for our mind is pretty new. But that doesn't necessarily mean that we have never gotten in touch with it. See rebirth as a logical conclusion that nothing comes to an end. That everything changes into something else.
Yeah, that's quite a powerful argument, actually.
And that's it. I mean, we throw rotten plant material, and it becomes earth. And we use it. Fertilizer. The body itself, will feed other things. That's just one aspect. So nothing actually comes to an end. I mean, everything changes. So how can we think, there's an end the moment we are? I mean, we fall unconscious, and then we wake up, and then, we are reborn. We fall asleep, we don't remember anything, we have a deep sleep. Where am I? Sometimes it happened to me when I was a soldier. We had 72 hours of non-sleep, I went home, and I just, I half fell asleep in the bus, even standing up, fell asleep. But when I entered my bed, I slept for 18 hours, and then I really didn't realize where I was, what was going on. And then I had to reassess. Where am I? What day is it today? What time of the day is it? I mean, normally we don't have this problem because we go to sleep at a certain time and we wake up at a certain time, so that's a problem. So, I mean, I offer this for your reflection. If you have any more questions, you're free to ask.